Welcome once again to that must-see TV on YT, Pigskin Facts, History and News. Once again, I'm your host, Fred. Hope you had a good week. Back for another episode. We're going to have a nice, lovely show today. This is your first time watching. Thank you very much. Hit that subscribe button down below. And if you like this show, give me a thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up down below. Also, if you've already been watching, thank you. Thank you for your faithfulness, Redskin Nation. I love you. And hail to the Redskins. And you know what? 2020 is the start of a brand new culture for the Washington Redskins. I like the direction that we're going in. I love the philosophy of the coach. I love his mindset and the type of players that we're getting in. He's drafting the kind of players that are not, they just don't play one position. They're not a one-trick pony. He's drafting players that are interchangeable, that do different things on the field, that can be moved around. And I think that also, nobody really talks about it, but I think also that would reduce on the injuries because some players are usually just in one position and they play that position so much they get hurt. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but to me it does. But I don't think that the Redskins will have the problems that they've had in the past, like with 20 players on injured reserve. And I mean, the last few years, I mean, it's been horrible. But today we're going to look at the offense. We looked at the defense the last time, and quarterback Dewayne Haskins, he didn't really have a lot to work with last year. There were a lot of new rookies coming in. The rookies, Terry McLaurin, he had an awesome year. He had a monster year for a rookie. Calvin Harmon, and then you had Sims coming in. So these guys were just learning how to play in the NFL. And at the end of the year, they started coming along better. The more they played, the better they got. And Dewayne Haskins, he played in about 9 games. Got off to a rocky start from the old coaching regime. They really didn't like him. Then Jay Gruden got fired, who is now the OC, offensive coordinator with the Jacksonville Jaguars. The only news that I have so far is, speaking of Jacksonville Jaguars, former third down running back Chris Thompson has gone over to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He signed a 1-year deal, so he'll be reunited with his former coach Jay Gruden, who is now the offensive coordinator of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, so on that one. All right, before I get into the offense and talk about the offense of the 2020 Redskins and talk about those that have been drafted recently, I want to go back in time. I want to go to what I call the history vault. And the year was 1972 at RFK Stadium, the old Redskins Stadium that they played in before they played at FedEx Field. It was 1972, very long time ago. It was an NFC Divisional Championship game. And the Redskins played against the Green Bay Packers. This game was very significant because the Redskins in this same year, 1972 to 1973, they went to their first Super Bowl. They did not win it, but it was very significant in history. The Redskins, basically, they went up against the Green Bay Packers. And to make a long story short, the Redskins dominated the game. The Green Bay Packers were a team that had a very effective running game at the time. They were a running team, so they defeated a lot of teams by running the ball effectively on the ground. However, the Redskins had a stout defense, and they pretty much stuffed the Green Bay Packers all day. They frustrated the quarterback, sacked them numerous times, and the Redskins didn't score very many touchdowns. However, they did win the game. The final score was 16-3. The only touchdown of the game was a 32-yard pass from former Redskin quarterback Billy Kilmer to number 80, Roy Jefferson. And Kurt Knight, the Redskins field goal kicker at the time, added 3 field goals, and the Redskins went on to win the game 16-3. They advanced to the NFC Championship game and defeated the Dallas Cowboys. And from there, they went to Super Bowl VII, where they were ousted by the Miami Dolphins 14-7. And I'm going to give you a visual of that game. They played the Green Bay Packers. Here it is right here. Roy Jefferson on the 32-yard touchdown catch from Billy Kilmer. Scored a game's only touchdown. And here at the bottom, you see the Redskins defense ganging up on the Green Bay running game and stuffing it. And they won the game 16-3. And that was our history vault. And thank you once again for joining Pigskin Facts History and News. There will be changes. There will be changes made to my show. The next segment on my next show will be the final Pigskin Facts History and News. Aww. But good news. There will be a name change of the show. The show will continue, but it will be under a different name. And I'll reveal that in a couple weeks. And just like I told you, we're going to make changes to the show, going to make improvements, and change is coming. So those of you that have been faithful to watch Pigskin Facts, History, and News, thank you for your support. Pretty soon I'm going to be having, if you want to donate to my show, and I'll do live segments coming in the future, I would appreciate that. You're more than welcome. All right. Now, 2020, the Redskins had a very good draft. If you saw my last show, you pretty much saw what I graded, the grades that I gave on the draft the past couple shows, where I talked about the Redskins New Draftees. They had 8 draft picks in the 2020 draft. 4 of them were offensive players, and we got about 3. We got about 3 undrafted free agents that are offensive players. And let's just kind of go over the weapons this year that the Redskins have drafted and have engrafted into the team. Quarterback Dewayne Haskins should have better protection this year. The 4th round, we drafted. 4th round, I'm going to skip around a little bit. The 4th round, we drafted offensive tackle from LSU, Louisiana State University, Sadiq Charles. And this was a big draft pick because this guy was projected to go higher. Not going to get all into that. There were some character issues there, but the Redskins saw something deeper, and they're going to work with him and help this guy out. But he is a natural talent. He's an offensive tackle. He can play either tackle positions, right tackle or left tackle. Presumably, they're going to put him at left tackle. Trent Williams is now gone, so Sadiq Charles from LSU is going to probably come in and fill that spot. Big, strong guy, 6'4", 322 pounds. Excellent pass protector. Excellent run blocker, and he's got some things, of course, that they're going to tweak at the NFL level and help him to extend his game, to better his game, improve his game. And so I look forward to this guy being on the line and being an anchor on the offensive line, on the O-line, and protecting Dewayne Haskins, because that will make him a very dangerous quarterback if he's protected, because he will have time to throw. Another guy that we drafted on the O-line, I believe it was the 5th round, Keith Ismail from San Diego State University. I don't have a lot to really report about this guy, but he's a big run blocker. Kind of small for the O-line and the NFL standards, but I'm sure they're going to bulk up. I believe he's 6'2", 309 pounds. So he might not come in and start right away. He might be more like a developmental player, or they might put him on a practice squad, but he's been signed. And obviously the Redskins saw something that nobody else saw. 5th rounder. So who knows? You never know. He just might play. But I'm pretty sure that they're going to need him to beef up and bulk up from 309 pounds. That's considered, back in the day, like 20, 30 years ago, that was probably considered huge on the O-line, but now it's small by standard. So I'm sure that they'll work with him and get him in there. The guy's real athletic. So it's awesome because we're adding depth to our O-line, and Dewayne Haskins is going to need guys that are going to stand up and push that defense off the ball so they can run the ball or or throw the ball down the field. So this is very critical. So I'm glad that we addressed the offensive line during the draft. I'm pretty happy about that. Antonio Gibson. This guy, third rounder, selected out of the University. Antonio Gibson, selected in the third round from the University of Memphis. This guy is considered one of the biggest steals of the draft. Actually, we have two players that we drafted on offense that are considered steals of the draft. The other being Antonio Gandy Golden out of Liberty, the 6'4", 220-pound wide receiver. Excellent hands. This guy is a thoroughbred, very hard to tackle, not really speedy. He runs like a 4.6 and a 40, but he's very hard to tackle, and I think this guy will be excellent in the red zone, down close, and I think this guy will be excellent throwing the ball down to the middle of the field or even toward the sideline because the guy's tall, he's got hands, he can get up and catch the ball. So he kind of reminds me of a Randy Moss. And if you've seen the highlights of Randy Moss and you've seen Randy Moss play, who is now an NFL Hall of Famer, you would probably have to agree. But this guy is considered one of the weapons that will be surrounding Dewayne Haskins, and he's one of the steals. One of the biggest steals that I mentioned was Antonio Gibson out of the University of Memphis. He's 6 foot tall, 228 pounds, play wide receiver, can play running back. You can line him up in the slot. So many things that you can do with this guy. You know, he's been called the Swiss Army knife. He's had comparisons to Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara on the Saints, Reggie Bush. I mean, this guy right here adds a speed element that the Redskins did not have. And they're going to be dangerous on offense. And this guy, just like last year in the third round, who did we pick? We picked Terry McLaurin. He was a steal of the draft last year, and here it is again. We repeat the process, and we get Antonio Gibson, and this guy was talked about a lot on the draft board, and I'm just so glad and so fortunate that we happened to draft him, and I can't wait to see this guy play. Chris Thompson's gone, so this guy comes in. I don't think he's just going to be a third down back. I think he's going to be wherever the Redskins line him up at because he can play so many multiple positions and he can score from anywhere on the field. He had 77 touches in college, and 14 of those touches were touchdowns. So what does that tell you? That's phenomenal. So this guy right here I think is going to be a scoring threat for the Redskins. And we got another guy from the University of Temple. His natural position is wide receiver. His name is Isaiah Wright. He's an undrafted free agent. And if Antonio Gibson is considered a weapon, like he likes to call himself, he says, I don't like to call myself a wide receiver or running back. I like to be known as a weapon. Well, Isaiah Wright, in regards to Antonio Gibson, this guy would be a backup weapon. 6'2", 220 pounds, fast when he's in small spaces, hard to tackle. He can operate from anywhere in the field. He can operate from the wildcat formation. He runs end around reverses, jet sweeps. This guy is another do it all guy, and I just like what the coaches saw, what Kyle Smith and Ron Rivera saw when they looked at these guys, and these guys are awesome. I mean, they bring a different element that the Redskin offense has never had, that I've never seen anyway. So Isaiah Wright from the University of Temple, they signed him, and let's see what it do. Let's see what it do. So we have a weapon, we have a backup weapon, and we have another weapon. We got Thaddeus Moss, son of Hall of Famer Randy Moss from the University of LSU, another undrafted free agent, comes in, signed with the Redskins. And this guy, if you watch the championship game, the NCAA college football championship game, the Redskins, the Redskins, the LSU Tigers, who Thaddeus Moss played on at the time, they played the Clemson Tigers, and they show highlights of Thaddeus Moss blocking, and I got one word for you, what kind of blocker he is. He's a bully. He was putting dudes on their back and practically running them over, just blocking down near the goal line or down in, whatever situations, crucial situations, this guy was on it. And I believe he caught 2 touchdown passes in that game also. He has great hands. So if his dad, Randy Moss, was exceptional at catching the ball, then the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, because Thaddeus Moss possesses those same qualities like his dad did. He may not be as fast, but he's got the hands and he can block. And that's what we need at the tight end position. Jordan Reed is gone. Vernon Davis is retired. We did get a few free agents, tight end. At the position of tight end, we did get a few free agents weeks ago, but none of them really stand out. But this guy, Thaddeus Moss, he has a chance to come in, show and prove, and start and get on the field and do his thing to start his NFL career. And I hope that he does. I hope that this guy comes in and does his thing and ends up starting. So that'll be great to see. But Dewayne Haskins now has a tight end that is disposable. He has interchangeable wide receivers that could be running backs, or that can line up in the slot, or that can even come in and line up the wildcat. So many, they can block, so many things. So many players that we have now that are interchangeable, that can just play more than one position, and that can score from anywhere on the field. This is the kind of offense that we need. This is the kind of offense that we need to give defensive coordinators a nightmare. Let them not sleep at night because of who we have. So I'm giving the Redskins about 2 years, and we're going to be a true NFC contender. So I'm looking forward to it. I know you're looking forward to it. And that's about all that I have. So thank you once again, Hail Skins Nation. Thank you once again for joining Pigskin Facts, History and News. I am your host, Fred. Thank you guys for joining, and we'll see you next week. And until then, signing off.